In the chaos of modern war, where missiles scream through the sky and tanks thunder across broken earth, one operation stood out for its silence. Ukrainian drones, hovering like ghosts above the battlefield, waited not for minutes or hours but for the perfect moment. Their target wasn't just any convoy. It was a Russian shipment carrying the newest generation of weapons, fresh from production lines and ready to fuel another wave of destruction. But the Ukrainians didn't rush. They didn't strike at the first sight of movement. They waited. In that stillness, they showed the world that patience can be more powerful than firepower. The brilliance of this mission was not in the explosion that followed, but in the restraint that came before it. Every drone operator understood that timing would determine everything. The goal was not to destroy an empty road or an unarmed truck. It was to cripple the enemy's war machine in a single decisive strike. Hours passed as reconnaissance data flowed in, tracking the convoy's progress from the depot to the border zone. Ukrainian command watched, studied, and planned. The drones followed at high altitude, invisible and silent, letting the Russians believe they were safe. And when the last vehicle in the convoy loaded up and began to roll, the signal was given. In seconds, the night erupted. Explosions tore through the line of armored trucks carrying rockets, shells, and advanced targeting systems. Flames lit the horizon, turning the night sky into a burning testament of tactical mastery. What the world witnessed wasn't just destruction, it was intelligence turned into impact. The drones, guided by satellite and human coordination, didn't waste a single strike. Every detonation was deliberate, every hit a result of calculation. What had taken Russia months to produce was erased in minutes. This moment marked a shift in how wars are fought. For decades, power was measured by who had the biggest army, the heaviest tank, or the most advanced missile. But this attack changed that equation. Here, small drones costing a fraction of the weapons they destroyed proved that precision, patience, and data are the new tools of dominance. Ukraine didn't need overwhelming power, it needed perfect timing. It wasn't about matching Russia's might but outsmarting it. That is the new face of modern warfare: brains over brawn, precision over power. For the Ukrainian operators, this mission carried more than strategic value. It was personal. Each drone in the sky represented not just a machine but the determination of a nation fighting for survival. Behind every controller sat a human being who understood what that convoy meant. More weapons to bombard cities, more missiles to strike homes, more pain for families. Waiting wasn't easy. It demanded focus, discipline, and the strength to hold fire when every instinct said to strike. Yet that patience transformed a simple attack into a defining moment of modern conflict. The success of the mission also sent ripples through global military circles. Nations around the world saw that a well-timed strike by a handful of drones could neutralize an entire column of military power. It was a lesson in adaptation, showing that the future belongs to those who think ahead, who can blend intelligence, technology, and timing into one deadly art. Ukrainian forces demonstrated that control of the battlefield no longer depends solely on numbers. It depends on the ability to see first, decide faster, and strike smarter. When the smoke cleared, the message was unmistakable. Strength is not just about how much you can destroy, but how precisely and purposefully you do it. The Ukrainian drone strike became more than an operation. It became a symbol of a nation's resilience and ingenuity. By turning patience into a weapon, Ukraine showed that even under siege, intelligence and discipline can bend the course of war. The explosion that followed was not just the sound of a convoy being destroyed. It was the echo of a new era in warfare, where precision reigns supreme and power, no matter how great, means nothing without strategy. The success of Ukraine's drone strike was not born from luck or random opportunity. It was crafted through intelligence, surveillance, and a deep understanding of the enemy's behavior. Modern warfare has evolved beyond the battlefield. It now begins in data centers, command rooms, and invisible networks of communication. The real weapon in this war was not only the drone itself, but the intelligence guiding it. Every detail of the operation, from the convoy's route to the timing of the strike, was shaped by information gathered through a combination of human insight and advanced technology. Ukraine has learned that in a world of satellites, sensors, and cyber networks, information is the most powerful ammunition of all. Long before the explosion, Ukraine's intelligence units were already watching, through intercepted communications, satellite imagery and surveillance drones, they built a complete picture of the Russian supply chain. They tracked when new weapons shipments left factories, how they moved through transport lines, and where they were stored before deployment. This invisible layer of observation allowed Ukraine to see the war not just as a series of battles but as a system of movements and vulnerabilities. When that crucial convoy carrying advanced Russian weapons began its journey, the Ukrainian command knew it, not through rumor but through confirmed data. Every truck's location, every stop, and every escort detail was mapped and updated in real time. In the old days, generals relied on scouts or spies to bring back fragmented pieces of information. But now, technology does what humans once risked their lives for. Drones acted as the eyes of the battlefield. Satellites provided the broad picture, and encrypted intelligence networks turned all that data into actionable strategy. Ukraine's commanders weren't guessing, they were calculating. They understood that knowledge of the enemy's movement can be more lethal than any missile. That's why they waited, why they didn't strike early. They wanted the maximum impact to ensure the shipment was complete, to destroy not one or two vehicles but the entire delivery at once. When the strike came, it was the result of coordination between intelligence units, drone operators, and field analysts. The drones were deployed with surgical precision, following the route fed into their systems by human and digital intelligence. This was not chaos, it was choreography. Every drone knew where to go, what to target, and when to attack. In seconds, information turned into destruction. Russian communications fell silent as the convoy was engulfed in fire, and within moments what had been a display of Russian logistical strength turned into smoldering wreckage. But beyond the physical impact, the psychological message was even greater. Russia's belief in the safety of its supply routes was shattered. They realized their enemy could see them before they could even act. Ukraine's intelligence network had exposed a weakness that raw power could not fix. This strike showed that surveillance and coordination were no longer just support systems, they were the core of modern combat. Information had become the new battlefield, and Ukraine had just claimed victory on it. What makes this operation remarkable is how it redefines what power means in warfare. The old model of dominance through size, firepower, or numbers no longer guarantees success. A drone guided by precise intelligence can destroy a target worth millions. A small team with superior data can paralyze a massive army. Ukraine proved that intelligence, not intimidation, decides the outcome of battles. In this sense, every analyst, every signal intercept, and every reconnaissance image mattered as much as the soldier on the ground. The operation also served as a wake-up call to the world's militaries. In future wars, whoever controls the flow of information will control the battlefield. The side that knows more, reacts faster, and strikes smarter will always have the upper hand. Ukraine's victory in this moment was a result of intelligence mastery, an alliance between technology and human decision-making. By fusing data with discipline, they turned observation into opportunity, and opportunity into overwhelming success. The strike on that Russian shipment was not just a military achievement, it was proof that in the digital age, intelligence doesn't just support the fight, it wins it. The drone strike that destroyed Russia's new weapons shipment was more than a tactical operation. It was a statement to the world. It declared that the rules of warfare are changing, and those who refuse to adapt will fall behind. Ukraine's operation was not just about hitting a target, it was about redefining what it means to be powerful in the modern age. The sight of Russian trucks exploding one after another was a message written in fire, reminding every nation watching that technology and intelligence now outweigh sheer numbers and old doctrines. The world's military leaders saw it clearly. This was the future unfolding in real time. Ukraine's success demonstrated that victory no longer depends on how many tanks you have or how far your missiles can reach. It depends on how fast you can learn, how quickly you can innovate, and how intelligently you can apply technology. In a war where one side is equipped with drones, satellite eyes, and instant digital communication, traditional power structures collapse. Russia entered this conflict expecting that its size and resources would guarantee dominance, but the drone strike proved otherwise. The giant stumbled because it underestimated adaptability. Ukraine, with fewer resources but sharper innovation, showed that intelligence and technology can dismantle even the largest military machines. This shift carries a deep symbolic weight. For decades, global powers have built their strength around heavy weaponry and industrial-scale defense. But what Ukraine displayed was agility, an ability to learn and adjust faster than the enemy. The drones waiting silently over that Russian convoy were not just tools of war, they were expressions of a new military philosophy. They represented flexibility, speed, and independence. They showed that a nation under siege could still turn its limitations into advantages. While Russia relied on outdated habits of overwhelming force, Ukraine relied on creativity. That contrast is what defined the outcome of this operation and what will define future wars. The strike also changed global perception of drone warfare. Many nations once viewed drones as support tools useful for reconnaissance, but secondary to human soldiers and traditional weapons. That belief ended the moment the Ukrainian drones executed their ambush. Now, military analysts across continents are rethinking strategy. They understand that drones, when combined with precise intelligence and real-time data, can dominate entire battlefields. They are cost-effective, flexible, and immune to fear or fatigue. The Ukrainian example has become a blueprint for the future, a model that militaries will study, copy, and evolve. Yet beyond the strategic lesson lies something deeper, a moral and psychological victory. Ukraine's resilience showed the world that strength is not about who starts with more, but about who refuses to stop evolving. Each strike sends a message of defiance and courage, reminding people that adaptability is a form of resistance. The explosion that night did not just cripple a convoy, it reignited belief in innovation over oppression. It proved that even when outnumbered and outgunned, a nation that can think faster will never truly be powerless. For global audiences, the event was a wake-up call. It forced military thinkers, policymakers, and even ordinary citizens to confront a new truth. The battlefield is no longer confined to land or air. It extends into cyberspace, data streams, and invisible networks. A drone strike guided by algorithms and intelligence analysts can do more damage than an entire battalion. Nations that fail to embrace this transformation will find themselves vulnerable, not because they lack weapons, but because they lack vision. Ukraine's action made that lesson impossible to ignore. When the dust settled and the fires faded, the world was left with more than wreckage. It was left with realization. Ukraine had not only struck Russia, it had struck at the very foundation of how war is understood. The message was unmistakable: adapt or fall behind. In this new era, those who innovate will shape history, and those who cling to the past will be erased by it. The operation was more than a military success. It was a turning point, a signal to all nations that the balance of power is shifting from muscle to mind. Ukraine didn't just destroy a shipment, it dismantled an illusion that size and strength alone decide victory. The future belongs to those who can evolve, and Ukraine proved that evolution has already begun.